Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
Any attribute or immaterial possession that is inherited from ancestors. The world's heritage of knowledge. That which is inherited. A title or property or estate that passes by law to the heir on the death of the owner. Hereditary succession to a title or an office or property. Practices that are handed down from the past by tradition. A heritage of freedom. Any attribute or immaterial possession that is inherited from ancestors. My only inheritance was my mother's blessing. That which is inherited. A title or property or estate that passes by law to the heir on the death of the owner. Hereditary succession to a title or an office or property. Genetics. Attributes acquired via biological heredity from the parents. A construct whereby objects or individuals can be distinguished. Decide as to where something belongs in a scheme. Attribute or credit to. We attributed this quotation to Shakespeare. An abstraction belonging to or characteristic of an entity. A possession whose ownership changes or lapses. A possession whose ownership changes or lapses. An ability that has been acquired by training. The cognitive process of acquiring skill or knowledge. The child's acquisition of language. Something acquired. A recent acquisition by the museum. The act of contracting or assuming or acquiring possession of something. The acquisition of wealth. Translating an idea into action. A hard theory to put into practice. A customary way of operation or behavior. It is their practice to give annual raises. Avail oneself to. Practice a religion. Systematic training by multiple repetitions. Practice makes perfect. Learn by repetition. Pianists practice scales. Engage in a rehearsal, of. Engage in or perform. Practice safe sex. Carry out or practice, as of jobs and professions. Practice law. Knowledge of how something is usually done. It is not the local practice to wear shorts to dinner. The exercise of a profession. The practice of the law. An inheritance coming by right of birth, especially by primogeniture. A right or privilege that you are entitled to at birth. Free public education is the birthright of every American child. Personal characteristics that are inherited at birth. Understate the importance or quality of. The part of a scene, or picture, that lies behind objects in the foreground. He posed her against a background of rolling hills. Scenery hung at back of stage. Computer science. The area of the screen in graphical user interfaces against which icons and windows appear. The state of the environment in which a situation exists. Information that is essential to understanding a situation or problem. The embassy filled him in on the background of the incident. Extraneous signals that can be confused with the phenomenon to be observed or measured. They got a bad connection and could hardly hear one another over the background signals. A person's social heritage, previous experience or training. He is a lawyer with a sports background. relatively unimportant or inconspicuous accompanying situation. When the rain came, he could hear the sound of thunder in the background. Helping someone grow up to be an accepted member of the community. Properties acquired during a person's formative years. An increase by natural growth or addition. Astronomy, the formation of a celestial object by the effect of gravity pulling together surrounding objects and gases. Biology, growth by addition as by the adhesion of parts or particles. Geology, an increase in land resulting from alluvial deposits or waterborne sediment. Law, an increase in a beneficiary's share in an estate, as when a co-beneficiary dies or fails to meet some condition or rejects the inheritance. Something contributing to growth or increase. He scraped away the accretions of paint. Law, a gift of personal property by will. A former English custom by which the youngest son inherited land to the exclusion of his older brothers. Come up with, an idea, plan, explanation, theory, or principle, after a mental effort. Arrange by systematic planning and united effort. Devise a plan to take over the director's office. A will disposing of real property. Give by will, especially real property. Law, a gift of real property by will. Law, any property that is considered by law or custom as inseparable from an inheritance as inherited with that inheritance. Something that has been in a family for generations. Law, a gift of personal property by will. An inheritance coming by right of birth, especially by primogeniture. A church endowment. Right of inheritance belongs exclusively to the eldest son. The learned profession that is mastered by graduate study in a law school and that is responsible for the judicial system. He studied law at Yale. A rule or body of rules of conduct inherent in human nature and essential to or binding upon human society. The collection of rules imposed by authority. Civilization presupposes respect for the law. The force of policemen and officers. The law came looking for him. The branch of philosophy concerned with the law and the principles that lead courts to make the decisions they do. A generalization that describes recurring facts or events in nature. The laws of thermodynamics. Legal document setting forth rules governing a particular kind of activity. There is a law against kidnapping. The collection of rules imposed by authority. The great problem for jurisprudence to allow freedom while enforcing order. The branch of philosophy concerned with the law and the principles that lead courts to make the decisions they do.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.